Anyway, hate to be a little drum, but I just, I've been watching a couple of news articles this weekend and last night, and the country's really getting crazier and crazier. So, and I'm saying the same thing in hopes to get people's attention, because we need to have a united middle class. A united and healthy middle class creates a strong America. And you have to listen to who wants that to happen and has ways of making it happen. And then we need to vote people in and vote people out according to their strengths or weaknesses. And it's going to take some time to do, to get finally a handle over our political system, because we have no handle over this. And the founding fathers gave us this. We owe it to them. They weren't perfect people, but and they were elites, but they at least saw that this country, the middle class of this country, needs to run the important issues directed by our politicians. And just like you have a head of a company and you have the crew of a company, if that's not going right in a company, one or the other, that company goes out, right? Well, this country is much, obviously a whole different scenario, but it matches a bit, because we're on the way to communism right now, or socialism, and there's no getting around that fact that either we come together and we pull together and we look out for our neighbors and we talk to each other and we do those things that our founding fathers gave us the freedom to do, and or we don't have a society anymore. Anyway, we're going to start getting this down. I'm still working on some lighting. Barbie's moving to California, so she's going to be producer Barbie remote. But I think we might be able to get her on camera this way. So with all of that said, you guys have a great weekend. Say hi to each other. Go out and say hi to somebody. Just wave at them, man. Start that way. Just wave at them. Every time you see them, wave at them. You don't know them. And then you'll see the reaction change, evolve. You'll see the body language evolve. Go out and say hi to a couple people today. Anyway, love you guys. Thanks for being here.
This is Behind the Mic, and I'm your host, Rodd Duff. All right, folks, here we go. It's Friday. The world, see what I mean? The world is acting weird. My coffee is acting very strong, and I'm officially out of patience for polite conversations. So let's do what we do best. Let's tell the truth and laugh our way through all the madness. After the lineup we just had this week, today isn't just a show. It's a pressure valve. It's where the great middle class finally gets to step up to the mic and say, okay, enough experts. Now let me talk. Today is your moment. Today is where the quiet people get loud. The stressed out people get honest. And people who haven't said a word all week suddenly find their voice and go, you know what? I got something to say. So if you're frustrated, speak. I want to hear it, man. I want to hear what's frustrating you. If you're hopeful, speak. Tell us what's coming up. Yeah, let's make it together. If you're confused, speak. We really need to get that conversation. If you're reinventing yourself for the 14th time this decade, you had better speak. If you're hanging on by a thread, but that thread is from Dollar Tree, definitely speak. If it's in your life, in your head, in your heart, or in your bills, it belongs right here. Let's rewind the week, because this one felt like a full cast reunion episode. Saturday, Emma Lynn and I sat down for Teen Life then versus now. And let me know, I learned that teenagers still think adults don't know anything, and adults still think teenagers don't listen. And you know what? Guess what? We're both right. But somewhere in the middle, we realized the generation gap isn't a wall. It's that automatic sliding door, the one at Target. If you walk toward it with intention, it actually opens up. Who knew? Then on Monday, David E. Feldman came in with more plot twists than Netflix. Oh, can't wait to do that. The man has lived 9 lives and wrote a freaking book about each one of them. He made half of us feel like we've been slacking. After talking to him, I cleaned my garage and and organized my desk and questioned all of my excuses. On Tuesday, love this one, man. Bob Collins, this man, he said, let's talk about climate change. Let's do it in English, though. Finally, somebody who gets it. Climate policy that forgets the working class is like trying to fix your roof by burning your house down. Wednesday, Matthew Madrid, I stepped in for the Stoic Jedi. He basically says, stop freaking out, breathe, think, and for the love of God, stop spiraling. Yeah, I think the middle class needed that episode. Thursday, Karen Kamburian. She came in with boundaries so clean and sharp they could slice through drywall. She gave half the audience permission to say no, and she gave the other half permission to say hell no. So it was quite a show. And every single one of these incredible people kept circling back to the same thing. How do we heal? How do we reinvent? How do we read? How do we lead our families through it all without losing our minds? How do we rise when standing up feels like a full body workout? My God, what it brings us right here, though, behind the mic, live. We're raw, unfiltered. You, me, producer Barbie, and the entire great middle class ready to talk. Now, take a minute of honesty here because that's my only setting. Insights and straight talk didn't start because life was perfect. It started because life flipped my table over, unplugged my blender, erased my calendar, literally and figuratively, and left me standing like, well, that was inconvenient. Everything I built for decades fell apart. Career, identity, direction, poof, gone. Life said, plot twist. And I said, oh, no, 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 no. I'm rewriting this season. And trust me, I didn't rise alone. Producer Barbie was right beside me, picking up pieces, gluing things back together, and occasionally handing me a cup of coffee and saying, now, try that sentence again, but nicer. I remember those days. Together, we took 2 messy, imperfect lives and built this thing from scratch. Not a show, but a mission, a voice, a fight. Because the middle class doesn't need more speeches. We need a place to be real, a place to laugh, a place to breathe, a place to ask questions. Nobody in power ever seems to ever answer. So tonight is your turn. Tell us where you're watching from. We stream all over the world, and I love to hear the different countries. Shout out your country or shout out your question to us. Bring us your stories, your worries, your big ideas, your small victories. Bring us your chaos, all of it. If it touches your life, it belongs in this conversation. So let's have it right here, right now. It's behind the mic. And you know what? Let's talk. So how you people doing? We got a nice little jump in here this morning. I appreciate your being here. It's going to be it's actually going to be kind of like a vacation day for me. Start of a well, no, because I'll be here tomorrow, Saturday. But the holiday season is here, which is awesome. Happy Thanksgiving coming up to everybody. But the downside, if you want to call it that, is the library's closed. I could take all my equipment, but I might be chilling a little bit, maybe doing more marketing stuff from the home office and just kind of taking that we've done, this is our 400th. Yeah, this is our 400th episode. Hey, everybody. Welcome. I didn't even realize that. Welcome to our 400. We've done that in just over a year. I do shows 6 days a week. Sometimes I've done 2 and 3 shows, but not typically. And then I stopped doing 3 shows. I have done 2 here and there, but really 1 show a week, 6 days a week, plus the marketing and everything else. Like I said, you get tired, you get run down, and it's nice to have this show to be the thing that runs you down, because it also at the same time lifts you back up. For me, this is, I love to say this is like like playing a video game all day long is now my work. Shout out to the Mangum City Library. Love your peace, love your energy, and love everything you're doing for the people of Mangum. Not only is this the information center, let's say all this digital world pop went out. Well, where are people going to get their information from? The bastion of knowledge is in the oldest library in Western Oklahoma. Started in the 1890s, I think, 1891, something like that. And this building was built in 1939 and is obviously a historical monument. Questions are starting to come in, guys. Hey, good to see you here. Please subscribe to the show. Please support our mission of getting to 10,000 subscribers just here on YouTube. I love the fact that you're all here, and we had a powerful show. I want to do more shows on the climate change. I said during that show that that for me, that particular issue, no matter which way you fall on it, and there's probably many different ways, but in general, how your belief is in what this movement, well, that's not even a movement, what this is all about. So, obviously it's a heart-tugging, it's our planet, and we live on it, and without it, we aren't. And so, yeah, it's a big, important thing not to be sidelined or not to be dismissed. And that's my whole point, is the problem that this subject, this item, climate polarity, I call it that. Climate polarity is a critical issue. And it's critical in that we need to first find out exactly what is going on with the climate. No more this side or that side. No more you're this if you think that. There should be no discussions of the climate until we have leaders in place that sit down and say, this is it. All the scientists come together. We don't know enough, but this, from the trending and going back and seeing trends, we haven't even been here long enough to really see any trends, meaning any trends back and forth. If a caveman is found 50 feet between the ice layer, below the ice layer, 500 feet below the ice layer beginnings, then that means when that caveman died, there was 50 feet or 500 feet less snow or ice or whatever there on the ice caps. And I know I'm using all the wrong terminology, but you know what I'm getting at. And so if there is an issue, how do we fix it? Or how do we manage it? Or how do we adjust our lives realistically to head towards a more perfect, not only a more perfect union, but a more perfect place, a more perfect earth. And so, all of that is doable. But like in that opening video there that I played, the unfortunate thing is that while it's all doable, uh, you got to find people who want it to be done, and then of course also have the ability to get it done. That's why we need to get leaders in place, and the only way to do that is for us to be the people preparing ourselves first, and then ready and educated and communicating and together, start picking leaders that work for us. They all work for us, but actually work for us. Let's hit a question or two here and then spark up something that maybe I can jingle on for a while. Gerard, how are you? How do we rebuild ourselves when life hits harder than expected? Yeah, from experience, I can tell you it's very doable. We're a phenomenal creature. We are uh, we are built of energy and molecules and synapses and genes and DNA and cells and blood and bone. But that first couple of ones that I was saying, we're built from energy, from power, and in that we have reason. Okay, so as we reason things out, um, we can reason that we've been we've been hit hard by a gut punch, um, buckled us over. Doesn't seem like anything ever. This is anything that you could ever recover from, and I've been there. It hit me, and the only reason I'm still here is I'll get to other things in a second that actually led to this, but well, that was before this actually. The things I'm going to set aside and get to in a second were after this, but many times, I've had more than one gut punch in life. Basically, uh, grew up through a Peloton, and getting punched was a pretty regular thing, and and those gut punches at some point, you as a boy and then a younger man and then beyond, that there's points in your life where you go, this is always happening, and you're not here yet, or you're not here yet. You're not thinking straight. You're not looking at the whys. You're looking at the whats, and you get caught up in that. And trust me, I get it. Um, but I actually didn't take my own life a couple of times. Not serious thoughts, but thoughts like. And the only reason I didn't at one point, one of the very early thoughts was because I may miss out on something. What if I miss out on something? Looking back, it was actually kind of dynamic. At the time, it felt kind of selfish, because what am I going to miss? And looking back now, it's ironic. But so the thing that I have finally come upon my greatest season, what I look to be and look forward to having the greatest season in my life, is because now I'm through this latest journey of which, and bringing that back, I had people, producer Barbie in particular, who then walked me through getting my own professional help, and something I fought against tremendously. And there's stories of this throughout the history in my family. So all of this leads up to this. So if you've been hit harder than expected and you're just down, and you got to rebuild yourself. The key word in this whole thing is rebuild. Like I said in the opening monologue, oh no, 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 I'm rewriting this scene. Um, it's time. There needs to be a point in time within your life where you say, okay, this keeps happening. It's not out there anymore. If it happens once, twice, three, it's something. It's not out there anymore. It's here, and so not to take responsibility, but then you are. Not to take blame, but is there really that to go around at this point? We'll talk more about that. It's not to do anything other than, hey, I realize I could have a much better life. What is it that because there'll be patterns. You got to step back and take a look. Like yesterday, Karen said, you got to step back from the board and you got to look and see what it is that has you here. And so when that happens, you've got to take the actions. And the first action, like we talk about in the AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. Ooh, I made through it. The Alcoholic Anonymous. The first two steps are admit you have a problem. Because if you don't admit it, if you don't see a problem or deny a problem to yourself, then you're nowhere. You're here. You're still here. You're just, as I like to say, hovering, but not in a good way. You're hovering, and so that first step is accept that and say out loud that you have a problem. I don't think it actually says say out loud, but this is a talk show, so say it out loud. So the second one is find a higher power. And, that may be a producer, Barbie. That may be God. I should at least put those in different orders. That may be God. That may be producer, Barbie. In other words, somebody you can lean on, somebody that you can hand this to. And it may be the alcohol. You need to be able to hand this to somebody, a higher power, so that you just walk a little lighter, thus start making this journey. And then, at the bottom, at the end of the day, it all leads into, then you got to do it. So those are two big things. Those are actions. But then you've got to live your day in and day out, purposefully. I like to say you need to really get involved in your own life. You need to really get involved in your own life, and you need to make those changes, Gerard. You need to dust yourself off and start. If it's starting over, then you need to start over. But you need to start over from a place, because it's not. You've just done a spiral, right? You spiraled out. But you know what? When you came back to the tail, you had all this experience to bring to that point. So when you're starting over, this likely will be a better chapter. And I say likely because it depends on you. If you're doing it and you're realizing this and you're exposing yourself to these new and proper ways to do things, learning from your past, then you're further than where you started before, obviously. And in my case here, I also have this tool where I get free advice, free medical, whether it be for mental illness, whether it be for health itself, whether it be in finances, whether it be in AI and automation and the whole coming. This show, I have a unique and distinct honor and privilege and fortune to be able to 6 days a week, be able to talk it out and be able to take different subjects that are hurting within my life and flush that through. And that makes for a better you. So you don't need to start a podcast to do that, but you do need to find some people that will support the things you need supported. And you being a guy, this is a new phenomenon in life, but it's actually okay for a guy to go out and talk about these things now. It doesn't make you the old vision and the old version of what it was to be a guy, a healthy, productive male species in society. It those old thought processes are winding down and winding out. So go get some help. And it always goes back to the same thing. You do the work. You got to do the effort. So, Gerard, if you want me to expand on that, love to. What is with these? There must be something funky going on with the StreamYard or YouTube or something. These names are coming across different. What is the first step to finding clarity when everything feels chaotic? You know, a couple of maybe a month ago now or so, we got almost 300 people, 260 people on right now. Appreciate you coming in, and please ask your questions. What is it that you need to what is it that you need to come in and grab the mic and be all about? Make some comments. Say where you're coming in from. What part of the world are you visiting us in our community here? Today's Friday, man. Today's let the pressure off, let it out. Let's chat about it. I see a bunch of questions coming in now. Thank you. I appreciate you guys listening up. Jump in and let's go through some of this together. And where are you in the world, and what's on your mind? What or maybe you're reinventing yourself and you're in that process. Let's talk about that. There's all sorts of things that happen to everybody at every moment in each day, and we're a good sized community, and we should be able to have lots of really interesting conversations and things that we can pass information and knowledge and experience and expertise back and forth to each other. So, Mr. Kakolinos, what is the first step in finding clarity when everything feels chaotic? Okay, right here. I find myself more and more finding excuses to do that during the show because there's really an effect that happens there. So the world is chaotic, and you're trying to find clarity making your next step, having your next move, asking the next question, or meeting the moment where it needs to be met. That simple stepping back, taking a look, being appreciative, having a higher power to be able to feed off of, and all of that for me comes to a conversation about a combination, like about a month ago, as I was saying. And in that conversation, this guest made a comment about these two things, and it stuck with me. It hit me like a punch. No, not like a punch, like a pillow smack in the face. You felt it, but man, it felt good after you went, oh, okay. And you know what she said was, when you're, let's say in the morning, or let's say at night, whichever way, however you, if you ever kneel down next to your bed and you say your prayers, that's you talking to God. Um, However you do that, right? So you're talking to God. And when you however this looks, whatever the picture looks like, if you take time and take a walk out in nature, or just get away from the big picture board, or close your eyes and listen to some music. Sorry, I was just closing my eyes there. Um, that's let's call it meditating, however that looks. When you meditate, that's when that's God talking to you. And so when we did I skip one? I did. I think I did. I'm going to go back to him. So when you're finding clarity, when everything feels chaotic, um, building to that, I wanted to kind of create that picture, and that the world is chaotic. You need to do both. Whatever that higher power is, you need to talk. You need to say your prayers, let's call it, and then you need to like meditate, let's call it, and that starts to filter, starts to, like a flour sift. It starts to sift, the fine, beautiful stuff out, and then you mix in a little of that gut instinct. We don't listen to our gut instinct. It's there for a reason. It's been there probably since we were cavemen, kind of things, right? Because you've got that energy. So there's a field around you that your energy goes out 6 feet in the diameter, which is interesting when you think about that with COVID. Interesting coincidence, or is there something to that? Don't know. Honestly, I'm just spewing out like politicians do. So that means you can, when somebody's coming up behind him, you can kind of feel them, and that's tied into your gut instinct. And when you get a feeling that something doesn't seem right, not only is that saying if it's too good to be true, it's probably not true. Um, but that gut instinct follows in that same path, and we need to listen to those things if we're ever going to get clarity while climbing out of the chaos. That's how it's going to happen, and that comes from building yourself from within. Now let's go to here, Michelle. How you doing, Michelle? So how do we know when it's time to reinvent instead of endure? Oh, great question. I love this question. Um, and let's see. Hold on. Let me step back. Let me step away from that answer. So how do we know when it's time to reinvent instead of endure? So it's a couple of things. One, what are you enduring? So are you enduring a life, a life of stagnation, a life of running through mud? Are you are you enduring a dangerous situation? Are you, so as we talked yesterday with Karen, it all really kind of relates to each other. But putting all of that aside, um, are whether you should continue to endure or reinvent, is is this what you're enduring? Is it, first of all, is it something that you're enduring to get? Is it that situation of, this is where I want to be, and these are all the of all the ignored uh, paths, all the ignored work that needs to be done to get from where you are to where you think you should be? Are you enduring some sort of pain because you're taking that road? In that case, yes, you should endure through, because enduring in that scenario is building character, is building the tools within you to get to that other place. And I talked on the show yesterday about how some things are connecting dots, where I've been on this mission, and I've at times gone, oh my God, how much worse is it going to get? How much more stressful? How much more this? How much more that? And I heard something on social media that went along the lines of, if you're at a spot now and you're trying to figure out why you're still here, it's because you need that lesson still learned. And I've told myself, but man, I've got this. I figured this out. I get it. I get it, Lord. And then something happened last week that kind of changed everything for me, because I've been trying to figure out what in my life is keeping me from moving successfully into this next phase. and it blew me away how 6 months ago or so, 8 months ago, I thought, okay, I'm there. Hopefully there's not more that I still don't see. That this opened up one wall or one door, and there may be another door, or am I walking into the room of being at the right place for doing the right work of God. And I don't mean doing the work of God in that I'm going to become a preacher or something. I am speaking of faith more just in general conversation, which is very unusual for me. And it's just part of my path right now. And that has never been so natural for me to do. But the what I was referring to, I'll leave aside for you to just think about. But that thing that happened made me realize that there was another release. There was this release, like this I don't want to say armor, but this kind of like shell. I shed something off, and then realized I felt different about that than I ever had before. There was a change in me, and so that enduring that I've been going through has been necessary, and continues. I'm sure. I mean, this is a new thing that got shedded off, but what else? What am I still learning that I need to learn as I travel through my journey in life? And that was, I mean, I'm 63, and that was probably one of the most impactful moments in my life. I almost want to do that, but more impactful, like something clicked, something, and I feel different. My I'll say it, my energy, it just feels different. There was this like hesitation that really came up bigger when this subject was in focus in a situation, but always was kind of there, but I never realized that it was a thing, at least a thing important enough to maybe being needed to be freed up from. If all that makes sense, hopefully it does. And I'm trying to speak in not exact sentences, because it's a little too close to me and others. So the point being, though, is that nothing really changed, but it changed inside. On the outside, nothing really changed. That's not really true either. I don't know how to say this now. But on the inside, something definitely changed, and for the better. And so now that enduring has capped off, has finalized, has 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 polished up this reinvention of me that I've been going through. And so, to answer your question there, Michelle, I think it depends on dot dot dot, all these things. But at the end of the day, you need to know, okay, this is something I'm enduring, I'm going through. It's obviously that means it's a darker thing than something that's joyful and you get to do. What time is it, by the way? So it's 11. So the library's closing at 12 today. They have a business function, employee training. I think it's probably like a office party kind of thing. But Joe told me it was a an office training. They're closed from noon to 6. So we've got just about 50 minutes. So there's no big deal. We're only at 41 minutes in the episode. I really like this episode. Because I'm also doing some self therapy over the things that, because this last week, not only in the show, but this last week for me has really kind of been an important week. A couple of good things. Not anything happened with the show to make it, be at that spot where I can relax and just enjoy doing the show and not worry about, the electricity staying and all that. But that's coming. I did start on next month potentially having a little bit of relief, and so that's obviously a great thing. But what happened this last week to me is power potent. Potent's a better word. It's potent in that some things, I like to use the word connected, some dots, and those dots being connected were it's like when you're on the I don't know how to, what, I guess the 10th floor, and then you go up another floor, and the thing opens, and all of a sudden there's this whole different level. Am I at the am I at where I need to be for this journey? I'll tell you one thing. I'm substantially more equipped and more capable of this journey, this thing that we're doing, because of this last week and a couple of incidences that just kind of created some clarity for me, and confirmed that this reinvention is in the right direction. Now, may there be adjustments and changes? God only knows. And when God wants me to, then I'll know. And that's an active effort, by the way. That's not just sitting back but it's an active effort. But more so than ever, I had a really freaking good week. We'll leave it at that. Mike Zonke, how do we protect our energy in environments that drain us? Oh, that's a tough spot to be in. Well, first of all, get out of the environment. I mean, I assume you're talking about a family, kind of thing, and yeah, I mean, let's face it. The thing that they say is spend a lot of time, invest in finding the right partner. Here I am, 63 years old. I'm a little too late for me to be learning this now, but really wish I would have done better for it And everybody should, because your partner is going to bring you the most joy and or the most pain you've ever experienced in your life. And so, unfortunately, we may be talking about a family or partnership, whatever here relationship, and that's hard because it's not like you can just leave that. I mean, there is a point in time where, uh, I mean, my God, can you believe this? 70% of, I think it's Americans, or I think it's Europe too. 70% of people get a divorce. Now, I mean, that's up from, I remember it was huge back when I was a kid, and it was 50%. Or, well, I think the first time I ever heard it was like 45 to 48%, then it went to 50, and now it's 70%. It's crazy. Honestly, that's insane. But to answer your question more so, Mike, so you don't need to protect your energy, you need to manage your energy. So if you're in environments that just drain you, you need to look at that as an opportunity to learn something, as much as almost make it a game. That sounds kind of silly, but make it kind of a game where you're taking this very difficult situation and turn it into your own lesson. Turn it into your own workout. Turn it into a thing that allows you to be able to become a stronger person and not have that energy being sucked out of you. It's very easy to get caught up in that, and oh my God, in your head, oh my God, here they go again. And yeah, and what I'm saying isn't exactly an easy thing to do. The easiest thing is just get up and go. But it always comes back to inside yourself. You've got to go back to you. And if you're in environments that drain you, first of all, shuffle up your priorities and why are you in these environments. Look at that and why, and then learn from that. But putting all the homework aside, if you're already there, take it for what it is. Take it for having the ability to take something from it, learn from it. Try and change your aspect, your ratio. Talking about cameras and stuff here, right? Change your angle. Look at it slightly different. Can you make it something that isn't draining to you, even if it just helps you get through this next moment in time? So depending on the environment, you're talking about environments. So, that just may be something said, but at the end of the day, there are many tools for you to use. And the biggest thing, everything in life comes back to, you got to work on yourself. You got to work within your own space. That's the biggest thing you can control. And realistically, it's the only thing you can control. If you can't run that like a what do you want to say, like a fine Swiss clock, or something that runs smooth. If you can't do that for you, how are you going to be there for? Well, an old one that one of their earlier ones that producer Barbie, one of her Barbieisms says, you can't drink from an empty cup. Remember, that was the one about laughter. That's how you fill back up the cup. Well, I mean, it's the same thing here. You can't protect your energy, or you can't avoid environments that drain you without you knowing everything about you. In other words, being honest with yourself. In other words, uh, working on you becoming a better person physically, mentally, uh, outwardly, inwardly. Remember that discussion yesterday? Your personality, that's the thing you want your environment to see. And then your inner depth, what do we call it? Your in your confidence, all of those things, your inconfidence, that's how you see the world. So you want the world to see you a certain way, and then how you feel inside about yourself is what you think the world sees in you, and how you view the world looking at you. So it's this constant battle unless you balance that, you tune it, and you make that engine, you make that work together. No matter what your circumstances are or were, I should say, because that's what really it all comes from. What happened to you as a child, or what happened to you along the way? And if all of that's good, then great. Just keep being that, and being that light for other people to be attracted to. If that's not the case, then you need to tune that stuff up. First, you need to figure out what it's about, and then you need to tune it up, and then from there, not be attracted to the environments that drain you. All right, so we are sneaking up here on an hour. What's the best way to handle pressure? This is Paula. You were on yesterday, Paula. What's the best way to handle pressure when you're already exhausted? Drink. No, I'm just kidding. You know, one of the first questions, similar answer going to this than was one of the first questions, and that being, when you pray, you're talking to God. When you meditate, God's talking to you. However you look at that, what that looks like, those things, you need to be active in your life. It comes back. You need to be active in your own life, and at some point, you need to be able to say, "Hey, this pressure's going on. I can handle this. You need to walk your way through it. You need to have somebody, whether it's your partner, hopefully it is, or your best friend, or in some cases your parent, or maybe even your child. But you need to be able to bounce some things off somebody else and just kind of give some of that pressure away, and kind of, I'm glad you're here. That let off a little, that pressure valve, let some of that out and just let it go. Um, that's kind of the secret to it all right there, is how do you handle those things that are the things that are the relief when you have pressure and you're already exhausted. Get a workout in, that always, those endorphins get you going. Go out for a walk, get into nature. These are things, getting grounded. I don't do this very much, but I do hug trees now every once in a while, but I don't walk out on the grass just because there's with bare feet. I mean, um, there's I'm a tenderfoot. So, but these are all things you should do, especially when the pressure is building up. You should really talk to somebody. You should have somebody that you're not afraid will hold it against you, or bring it up when you're down, kind of thing. These are all important aspects of how that pressure can be relieved, especially when you're tired. Get some help. Ask. There's, I always feel like when I'm on here, I want to write a book about this stuff. But I mean, I've got one still sitting out there, so it's not like I don't have that ability to do. So Nick Hayton, how do we stop repeating the same cycles and finally break free? Oh my God, thank you, Nick. That's the second question you asked today. That's the whole thing right there. That's the answer to all that you could ever want. So how do we stop repeating the same cycles and finally break free? That's right there is kind of what I was alluding to earlier in this show when I said I had a breakthrough. You know, and I'll come back to it again. You have to come back to yourself. You have to work on yourself. You have to do the work. You have to get involved. You have to be active in your own life. And what that looks like is you have to be able to take a look at, okay, I'm doing the same thing over and over again. Or I should say I'm getting the same result over and over again. What's going on with me? What's going on with this? How is this my life now? Well, nothing will change unless it's an active involvement, unless you get right down to it and make a change. Best song ever about this. Michael Jackson, Man in the Mirror. That's what you got to do. You got to look at in this case, man in the mirror, or you got to look at this woman in the mirror, this boy, this girl in the mirror. You got to look at yourself in the mirror. And then you got to decide to make a change. And boy, that's a beautiful song. It's going through my head. Is it going through your guys' head too? I mean, man in the mirror. That is exactly how you break free. That is exactly how you stop repeating the same bad habits, whatever you want to call them, the same things over and over again. That is exactly how you do it. So I think that's it, folks. That was a nice show. I think it went very well. Some fantastic questions being asked, some terrific comments. Really look forward to seeing you guys. It's going to be a light week next week. We have 2 shows, one on Monday and Tuesday, and then we'll have the Saturday show. But the library is shut down for the holidays, of course, and so that kind of limits my ability to broadcast with cameras that aren't there. So with that, and stay after the outro video. I was trying to say something. It ranges from a fraction of a second to 2 seconds. Let's see what I can get out. And with that, I'm your host of Insights and Straight Talk. My name is Rodd Duff, and I am out.
Before you leave, if you'd like to watch another one of the podcasts, click the first link in the description. We love having you here, and we appreciate all your support.
And with that, producer Barbie and I are out.